What's going on, Black Speakers Network family? Welcome back to another BSN Speaker Spotlight. If we haven't met yet, my name is Brian Oles, president and founder here at Black Speakers Network, where, of course, our mission is to equip, connect, and inspire the next generation of Black professional speakers. And so you're here at the Speaker Spotlight, where we have 5-minute rapid fire interviews with members from across the Black Speakers Network ecosystem. It's a great opportunity to hear from expert speakers in multiple different areas, whether it be diversity, leadership, healthcare, financial wellness, you name it, we have it here in BSN. And so today is no exception. Now, these are rapid fire interviews, which means that you're just going to get a sample, just a taste of the individuals, their expertise. However, you can absolutely continue the conversation and connect with them directly. Every speaker that you're going to hear from today can be found on our BSN Black Speakers Network directory. The link is right below me, blackspeakersnetwork.com/find a speaker. And you just type in their name and you will be able to connect with them. And so if you are a meeting planner, if you are a podcast host, if you have a conference, seminar, workshop, any sort of event coming up where you are looking for an expert, or perhaps you're inside of an organization and you're looking for that next person to come in and to be able to serve your team, then we have so many speakers who are ready and able to do that. Now, I know we also have individuals who are also speakers. We're broadcasting now to our entire BSN community as well as externally. And so if you're right now thinking like, wow, I love to be interviewed, then I would love to talk to you. We are systematically moving through all of our members. And so if you'd like to be included in that, make sure you learn more about what it means to be a Black Speakers Network premium member. Again, link is below, blackspeakersnetwork.com/join. And I would love to connect with you. Now, don't want to waste any time because we have 3 incredible speakers that I am looking forward to chatting with today. They are from all across the country, literally. And so I want to jump right into it. And so I'm going to head on over to St. George's, Alabama. Our very first speaker is Miss Joyce Chesley Haywood. She is in the building. And Joyce, I want to welcome you to BSN Speaker Spotlight, first at bat. And if you don't mind, tell us folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, Brian. Thank you for having me. I am Joyce Chesley Hayward, and I am a CPA or certified public accountant and an external CFO. And I actually hail from Maryland, and I now am in St. George's, Bermuda, actually, where the sand is pink and the sky is blue. And as we say, we are open and ready for you. We love our island here. And so I actually help businesses to be profitable. I'm a profitability expert, and I love to serve businesses. I've been in business over 30 years, believe it or not. And I came to Bermuda after having a business in the States for 10 years, and I love to help businesses to be profitable. I'm also a Reverend Doctor, my other hat. So I'm also Reverend Dr. Joyce Chesley Hayward. And so I love to speak and preach and do business God's way. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I love to do business God's way.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And yes, Alabama felt wrong when I said it. However, that makes a lot more sense. But I didn't know you were from the DMV area. That is incredible.
Yes.
So that's good. I always get a little bit more comfort speaking to financial professionals because I feel like if the money isn't right, nothing else is right. And so I have a ton of questions for you. But first, you mentioned that you're an accountant, CPA, and I know you do external CFO, which I believe is, we see the rise now of fractional CFOs and really every role. You have fractional COOs and folks that are kind of stepping into organizations. Can you give us a little bit more insight to what that looks like on your side?
Sure. Our firm, Fusion for Business, the number 4 business, we help businesses in all ways. Being in business for so long, I look at things holistically. So we do people's books as well as a CFO, certified financial officer. I like to partner with my businesses. So many times I find that small businesses just don't have someone to help navigate them. As I say, it's like people walking through the dark. They don't know. And some people are afraid of the dark. But what I have found is when you have somebody helping you walk through the dark, when you're holding their hand, Vin Diesel has a quote that says, "I'm not afraid of the dark, but what I'm afraid of is bumping into something, walking through the dark and busting my lip." And that's the end of the quote. And what I find is that people bust their businesses because they don't know what's going on. They don't have somebody to navigate them and help them, guide them. And so years ago, when I moved into the home with my husband, he used to guide me through the dark. And I began to trust him. And I realized you don't have to worry about walking through the dark when you have somebody that you can trust and you know where things are. And so that's how I look at it. I help my clients navigate to know what's going on, because so many of my clients are skillpreneurs, as I say, persons who have started business and just don't know really how to navigate. They know what they do, and they do great at it, but they don't know all the things about being in business. So that's me as a CFO. I help them with their finances. And as you say, everything ties to finance, whether they hire a person or buy a piece of paper, it ties to the money. And so I love to help businesses to navigate their finances and know what's going on in their business, have like a dashboard. I'm a financial GPS, as I call it, helping to make growth and profits simple so that they can navigate through their business too.
Absolutely. First of all, I have been waiting a long time for a Vin Diesel quote to be mentioned and brought up on the Speaker Spotlight series. I don't know why it hasn't happened until now, but here we are.
Here we are.
So you focus on skillpreneurs. Can you dive a little bit more into that? Because I would love to know, we probably have a lot of people that are watching now, watching the replay that fall into that arena. So can you just take us more into the profile of the ideal person that you love to you enjoy serving in this capacity?
Yes. And I will say, I have found that a lot of businesses, and especially minority businesses, start because there's something they love to do. They have a skill. I worked in banking, I worked in public accounting, and I found quite often that small businesses don't operate like big businesses. And they just know what they know, but they don't know how to navigate. And so I watched businesses and I watched the big businesses and people who were successful in businesses. And I saw that the smaller businesses didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to handle their books. They didn't know how to navigate. And so what I find is that people have a great skill and they're great at that skill, but they don't know how to handle a business. So quite often I deal with persons who are first-time business owners. They didn't have a business that was handed down by mom or dad or aunt, uncle, or whatever. And they are trying to make it. They don't know how to handle their numbers. Quite often they are doing their books themselves, or they have a family friend trying to do some things for them. And what I find is that I love to help people who are new to business or have been in business for a while and are stuck. Another quote, Maya Angelou says, people go so far in life and then they get stuck. I find a lot of business owners are just stuck because they're afraid or that they don't know where to go. They don't know how to navigate. So those are the people that I help. They have a great skill, but they don't know how to navigate to help them move forward.
Yeah, that was me. I was engineering for 2 years in college, and then hit calculus, went to business, found out they had math over there, accounting, and it didn't matter if it was cost, accrual. Like I was just like, so.
Yes.
Even now, that whole bubblegum accounting stuff, like I have a very great, bookkeeper and people that can take care of business, and you need that. You absolutely need that. So I'm so happy that you're providing that sort of insight, particularly for kind of like you said, the skillpreneurs or solopreneurs who have the potential to build like a lot of revenue really quickly, but it might be too late if you wait too long.
Exactly.
This is a great conversation. There's so much more I could ask you, Joyce. And so I know we have a kind of an accounting finance community here within Black Speakers Network. So we're going to be doing more events and more education around this topic. So I can't wait to have you back for some of that stuff. But as we close out, could you let us know, of everything that you have going on right now? You mentioned that there's a ministry side as well. What is it that you want people to remember about you at the end of the day?
I want them to remember that I believe that you have to put first things first, that you have to love your business and love your life, because that's what profit freedom is about. And I do believe that you have to do business God's way. And I have an online TV show on Virtuous Entertainment TV called Doing Business God's Way with Joyce, Chesley, Hayward, because I believe if we do things the way God ordained for them to for them to be done, we will be more prosperous and more profitable. And so that's what I want them to remember about me, that they can look for me to speak, to help, however I can serve, but I will make sure that they do things God's way, meaning the right way, to and let people who are good at doing what they do, let them do what they do so that they can do what they do. You do what you do so I can do what I do, and we all enjoy life. That's what it's all about. Being profitable so that you can enjoy your business and enjoy your life.
I hear that. Somebody put profit freedom in the chat for
That's
Joyce because I absolutely need people to remember that. And I appreciate what you're doing. So, guys, if you want to connect with Joyce, make sure that you follow up. She has a ton of resources, always sharing great information. So make sure you connect. You can find her at blackspeakersnetwork.com, on our speakers directory /find a speaker. And Joyce, thanks again for sharing your knowledge and information as always. And thanks for being a part of the Black Speakers Network community.
Thank you so much, Brian. Take care.
Take care. All right, guys. Well, we are rocking and rolling here at Black Speakers Network Speaker Spotlight. We have 3 speakers from across the BSN ecosystem. You just heard from Joyce in the financial world. And again, super, super important that we have our books together, that we're taking care of our finances. Every speaker, I think, falls into that skillpreneur category that Joyce mentioned. And so I hope that you all are paying attention, taking notes, and make sure that you connect. So we are going to our next speaker, and always excited to go over to the West Coast. I think primarily because I miss being on the West Coast. I miss, the ocean and all the cool stuff y'all have out there. But we have Lola. Lola Adeyemo is with us from San Diego, California. Lola, welcome to BSN Speaker Spotlight, and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am a mom to 3 kids. I have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And I was born and raised in Nigeria. I have been in the US for a while, been in corporate America for the most part. And I currently live in San Diego and run my own business around employee resource groups and immigrant advocacy, DEI work.
Absolutely. Yeah, Lola, a phenomenal story. So much I want to ask you. I actually spent a few years before I went full-time to run BSN. I spent, 6 years doing corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So I definitely know the space really well. And I know how challenging, but also rewarding it is to help organizations in that capacity. So I would love to talk a little bit more about that, but could you tell folks how you got involved in that role? Like, I feel like diversity, equity, and inclusion is one of those things where you're it's almost like you're tapped on the shoulder or maybe called into it. So I would love to know how you got started.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say diversity, equity, inclusion is very broad, right? I got started the same way you talked about it, through my experience. And I like to tie it to being an immigrant because it had to do with identity. I actually started off as an employee resource group member. My background is as a scientist, okay? I don't have any people related official training. I started off as a biotech grad when I got into the workforce. So I worked in STEM and I got involved with employee resource groups as a member, took up leadership roles, and then I got tapped on the shoulder to formally join the diversity, equity, and inclusion team. And that, of course, just sparked my interest and my passion for that advocacy and making the workplace more inclusive. And so 2 years ago, I jumped into entrepreneurship full time, and I primarily support employee resource groups and companies with underserved minority groups in different forms and shapes.
Absolutely. And so it's so amazing because I know one of the things that you talk about, because you have, master's in science and biotechnology, you have a bachelor's in technology and biochemistry. So, if you have a STEM person, you would be like the poster person for like STEM. But you also say you're scientifically trained, but people passionate. And I see that kind of coming out. And so what I would love, because you kind of threw out some terms, and so there may be some folks that aren't as familiar with employee resource groups. And I believe you're actually getting your doctorate in strategic leadership, and your dissertation focus is focused on ERGs as well. So I feel like while we have the expert here, let's just, get some information about it. Can you explain to folks what employee resource groups are, and then also why you decided to make them a focus of your dissertation for your doctoral research?
Absolutely. Employee resource groups are within corporations, within organizations, within institutions, groups of employees that come together based on shared characteristics and around delivering value to that group, right? So it's not just about coming together for a social feel among us. It's about coming together to make a difference for that group, primarily around race and gender. But now, in more recent years, we're seeing broader need. Employee resource groups are coming together around life stage, right? We're seeing generational ERGs and religious ERGs, and it's a way to break down some of that hierarchy, that structure in the corporate workplace, and put people at the center of whatever we do, right? We don't want to lose that. And a lot of companies have lost that. With an employee resource groups, you're going around the company across the levels to bring people to the center of what you do.
I love it. I love it. And so I've heard lots of stories of, ERGs having great impact within an organization from that point, putting people at the center. But I've also heard horror stories of ERGs going rogue and kind of being distractions. And so,
Yeah.
from your perspective, what are maybe some of the top best practices that you think employees should have in mind if they're or companies should have in mind as they are thinking about forming maybe their first few employee resource groups?
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly what you said is part of why I focused my DEI. I call myself a DEI professional, but an ERG expert. That's my primary focus. DEI is very broad. And one of the things companies should keep in mind is that DEI is not ERG. ERG supports your DEI, but they are two very different things. So part of that fail, that miss that you talk about is companies that start ERGs and just don't fit it into a larger organizational DEI strategy. So I always say start with a DEI strategy, because each ERG is going to focus on something different. Each ERG is going to focus on a tiny piece of your DEI strategy. And so working together. Another one is also start with data, right? Don't start 25 groups because every company is starting all these groups, right? Look at your data, look at your organization, look at your industry, look at your locations, and determine what groups you need. And maybe roll them out over the years. But again, use data and have a DEI strategy. These are the two primary things that I talk about with organizations around ERGs who are just getting started.
Nice. And speaking of organizations, can you give us some insight? Like, who right now are your ideal organizations that you love speaking to? Are you focused on specific industry, or even when it comes to speaking, like what type of organizations? I know you have this incredible STEM background. Is it focused more so on the STEM like based companies, or do you have some type of industry focus? Or are you open to talking to any organizations of certain size?
I will say I have a soft spot for STEM because I come from there and I speak the language. So I have a passion to make a difference in STEM industries because I feel like the gap is wider there, right? There's a big, huge divide, the tech folks and the non-tech folks, right? So I do have a soft spot for STEM, but I serve corporations of different sizes.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, Lola, that you would have that like intersection and use that to your advantage. You made me wish I had finished my engineering degree, like have that there. But you are doing great at what you're doing now. And so my last question, as we kind of round out the conversation, we've learned a lot from you, ERG expertise. But what is it that you want people to remember about you as you continue to do this work?
So one of the things that also came out of this whole ERG experience for me is immigrant advocacy. So as an immigrant myself, that's an intersection that I don't often hear talked about enough. And so I have a pet project around immigrants in corporate. So if people are going to take anything away, of course, ERG, if you have any question, any need, anything around employer resource groups, I would love to chat. But again, immigrant stories, immigrant experience in corporate America is a new project that I'm working on. And I think it's related because when we talk about diversity, we have to open up the lens through which we think of diversity so that we can develop solutions that support everybody, individuals with different intersections.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. And I see that being applicable even at the college and university level as well. For immigrant students coming in, there's a diversity conversation across that and again across all industries. So I feel like you're going to be busy, Lola. And so if you want to connect with Lola, please make sure you do so. blackspeakersnetwork.com/find a speaker. She is there. Lola, I really appreciate, the work that you're doing. And obviously, I learned a lot from you. Looking forward to continuing the conversation across the different arenas within here in BSN. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion, like you said, is very broad. And so there are a lot of dimensions that we're tackling. And so, I'm looking forward to tapping on your shoulder for some of those dialogue. But in the meantime, I appreciate you and thanks for being part of the Black Speakers Network community.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. All right, guys, we are rocking and rolling. If you're learning something, just put like me in the comments. It doesn't matter if you're watching live or watching a replay, because one of the things that I really appreciate about the speaker spotlights is being able to get insight, but very, short but brief insight, just enough to go back and do my own research or dive into a topic a little bit further. And so hopefully you're getting that in addition to meeting some speakers who could light up your next stage. But we have one more speaker that is going to round out our session today in the BSN Speaker Spotlight. And again, all these folks you can find on our website. And if you're a speaker, encourage you, if you're not already part of the Black Speakers Network community, I encourage you to come check us out, blackspeakersnetwork.com/join. But I'm going to our very last speaker, and that is Miss Cassandra Hill. She is down in Osceola, Arkansas, and I am really looking forward to talking to you, Cassandra. And if you don't mind, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Cassandra Hill. I am a holistic health practitioner, wellness coach, as well as a master life coach with certifications in professional life, goal success, happiness. I work primarily with minority women who are either in business or career executives and restoring their health naturally. We focus on their physical, emotional, and spiritual health.
All right. Now, I have a lot to ask you about because as a holistic wellness influencer, I feel like we're kind of in a state right now as an economy where everybody's being asked to work harder. We're under more stress. We're under more there are more demands and strains on just being adulting, and it's harder to put wellness as a priority. And so could you tell us more about how you got into this space and why this is so important now?
I got into this space because I didn't do that. I worked in corporate America for almost a decade. And in corporate, it's just the grind mentality. You just work, 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 go, 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 go. And I did that and my body shut down. I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. And when I started traditional treatment with chemo and just a whole lot of other things, I really wasn't getting better. I got worse. And as I mentioned, I had a career as a gerontologist. So I already worked in healthcare, real familiar with research. I went back to college and just started studying alternative medicine. and eventually developed a regimen that put me in remission. I've been in remission 6 years now. And so 4 years ago, I decided that my healing just wasn't for me and that God had a plan for my life, and that included healing other, primarily women. Sometimes I do get guys as well, but cater primarily to women of color because I know what it's like to have that grind where you neglect yourself to have quote unquote success and eventually lose it.
Wow, that's such a powerful story. And by the way, congratulations, 6 years in remission. And I think that there's so much to kind of unpack there, and the expectations that we put on ourselves is so heavy. But to your point, what I heard in your journey kind of reminds me of something I hear a lot, which is that if we don't slow down, like your body will actually slow you down. And
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter what's going on.
It doesn't matter. Either by choice or by force, you decide.
By choice or by force, yeah. So I know you're focused on Black women. Obviously you're a Black woman, so there's an intersection there. Are there any unique issues that you think Black women maybe disproportionately are facing, or that you see come up most often with the clients that you're serving? Just barriers that they specifically face that on this holistic wellness journey.
Sure. Right now, for Black women, COVID-19 brought out some very serious health disparities that we were already facing, but COVID made it worse. Whether it's hypertension, where you have nearly half, 42% of Black women live with hypertension. We're more likely to have complications in childbirth. We're more likely to die from those complications. And so we're facing so many stressors. When you even think about businesses, Black women, we're the fastest growing segment here in the United States starting businesses. However, we face so much stress in starting businesses and managing those businesses that we're more likely to not stay in business as long. So our health and well-being is the key that holds every other aspect of our life in place.
Absolutely. And then just to dive further into kind of your practice, which again, you've used your own model to, essentially encourage and put, lupus into remission. So when I think about wellness, I kind of think about like the pillars of, of course, nutrition, and just like nutrition education, exercise, fitness, and then kind of like mental wellness. So having things where you can kind of, whether it's like yoga, meditation, doing self-care practices. What is it for you, like when we think about, or how you define holistic wellness? Like, what are some of the individual elements that those practices encompass?
I think it starts with the mindset, you feeling and thinking that you are well, because your mind, believe it or not, even if you're in a place right now of dis-ease, if you think you're well, you're on the path to getting well, because our thoughts have just that much power. So I really focus a lot on mindset. And once we get that mindset right, the physical is easy. It's easy for me to let you know how you can eat healthy on the go, how you can do meditation, prayer, make those regular parts of your schedule, how to prioritize your time to make that a reality. But we start focusing on mindset and self-worth. Those, for me, are the biggest components of holistic wellness.
Absolutely. I could totally see how that's important, because if you can't believe it, or you just, have this defeat mentality, or, you just, I feel like the entire world is always in competition for your mind. And so if you're tuning into the wrong things, it's going to be impossible to be able to move forward. So I love that you focus on that. For meeting planners and folks listening right now, who are the main people that you're interested in getting in front of? I know, of course, your individual audience is Black women, but from a speaker perspective, what are the kinds of events or platforms that you're most interested in speaking to right now?
I speak to organizations on inspirational topics, drawing closer to God, on staying motivated after life happens. We've been through a lot in this country in the past few years, so how to stay motivated. I also speak to organizations on employee wellness, whether it's mental or physical. Those are the type of audiences I speak to on virtual or in-person stages.
I love it. And as we round out the conversation, Cassandra, I would love to ask you what we ask everyone else, which is, what is it that you want people to remember about you, as you continue to do this work?
Sure. I want to be known as a transformation agent, specifically for women of color. I want to be known as the woman who really ended healthcare disparities for Black women, to where we no longer die in childbirth, where we no longer experience higher levels of hypertension, type 2 diabetes, all these chronic conditions. Myself, when I was diagnosed with systemic lupus, 10 to 20% of Black women die prematurely from complications of systemic lupus. So I want to be known as the woman who made the shift.
Absolutely. And by all indications, you're well on your way to doing that. So Cassandra, thank you so much. Again, if you want to connect with Cassandra, make sure you do that. blackspeakersnetwork.com/find a speaker. And you could do so. And I just appreciate you. Again, this is something that is particularly important. I love when we have these topics that are, exactly intersecting what we're doing. Black Speakers Network, I think about 80% of our membership community are Black women. So hopefully they're hearing this message as well. So Cassandra, thank you. And thanks for being part of the Black Speakers Network community.
Thanks so much for creating this platform, Brian. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'll talk to you soon. And guys, guess what? We are done. That is BSN Speaker Spotlight for this week. We do this weekly now. So again, if you are interested in being interviewed, make sure that you reach out. blackspeakersnetwork.com/join is the place where you become a BSN premium member. Once you're a BSN premium member, like you heard today from Joyce, Lola, Cassandra, it is the starting point to be able to increase your visibility, because our entire goal is to be able to connect you with the audience that you're called to serve. And so if that sounds good to you, I am looking forward to talking to you. But as we always say here in BSN, keep speaking up. Your audience awaits, and we will see you on stages around the world. Take care. Being at a HBCU like Morgan State University, I saw firsthand the talent, the expertise, the creativity that we bring to the table when it comes to this world of public speaking.
Black Speakers Network is a space where I can interact and engage with my tribe, with Black speakers.
It's all reflective of an abundance mindset that there is enough for all of us to win big.
BSN serves others not only in community, culture, but around the world.
BSN not only helped me book additional paid opportunities, but gave me the accountability and confidence booster I needed to really strive and thrive consistently in my business.
They curate all the engagements and email them to you. So all you have to do is simply click and apply to the one that's applicable for your niche.
I have built my business and have expanded my knowledge, met amazing people, and I have landed several speaking engagements.
I truly thank the entire team behind Black Speakers Network for helping me share my story with the world.
In less than 3 years, I was able to increase my visibility, my credibility, and even my connectivity.
What I experienced with BSN is phenomenal connections. And I've met so many great people that have added value to my life in ways I just wouldn't have expected.
If you want to speak on college stages, BSN has something for you. If you want to speak and sell, I feel like BSN has a cohort for you.
At the end of the day, Black Speakers Network is really there for anyone who is longing to reach the audience that they're called to serve.
Black Speakers Network truly is a place where you can feel like you're home.
If you are on the fence, get off the fence and join the family. You won't regret it.
It is the #1 organization that I recommend that every speaker become a member of if you really want to catapult your success and maximize to its fullest potential your voice.